All right, let's move on to this week in football, and we will start with the week's college football efforts. Well, if you're talking about college football this week, a lot of it's about the bowl rankings and the college football playoff rankings. And here's the top five. Why five? Well, I don't know. I just want to remind Ohio State how bad they blew it. They blew it. They blew it. SC blew it. Anybody that won a conference and didn't get into the playoffs, it's your fault. You shouldn't have lost that second game. If you don't lose that second game, you're in the playoff, and Alabama isn't. Does Alabama deserve it? No, they don't. It's name recognition. It's about ratings. It's about selling tickets. That's all it's about. It's not just about football. That's not that committee's job, is just to identify the best 4 football teams. They got to put butts in seats and eyeballs on TVs. Figure it out. It's not that hard. All right, let's take a look at the week's games. There were some unbelievable games in this mix. One of which was going to be a great game, but turned out to be pretty much a butt whipping. Sort of like the first time these teams met 3 weeks ago, but in reverse. Georgia dismantled Auburn, took them apart, and they looked every part of an SEC champion and a college football playoff participant. Congratulations to Kirby Smart and company, especially Roquan Smith, who was the MVP of that game and just had an amazing season. Won the Nagurski Award, by the way, and the Butkus Award. Next up, the ACC game, which I think a lot of us thought would be a lot better game than it actually was. But maybe we weren't paying attention to the last couple of times these teams have met, because Mark Richt and Miami obviously have a lot of work to do. And this kept Clemson at number 1 and means they get a rematch with Alabama from the last 2 national championship games in the first game of the college football playoff this year. And that'll be down at the Sugar Bowl. Next up in the college football lineups for this past weekend was the Big 12 game. Another rematch, another of the same results, though. There wasn't a big flip in this one. Oklahoma just played with TCU. TCU just could not muster enough offense to hang with Baker Mayfield and Oklahoma. Congrats to Lincoln Riley. Congrats to Baker Mayfield. Congrats to that whole Oklahoma team. You're going to the Rose Bowl. You're going to play Georgia. And just be ready. That will be a sea of red. I mean, unbelievable sea of red. And I'm not saying that Georgia fans are all going to show up. I'm saying between OU and Georgia, I don't know if the Rose Bowl's ever seen that much red at one time. Get ready. Next game in the conference championships was one that it was a good one. Wisconsin had their shot, and that's the team that should have been in the playoff. If they'd have won the Big Ten, if they'd have won this game, they'd have been in the playoff. Add them to the list of people that have no one to blame but themselves. Ohio State won it. Yeah, they did. Their defense played well enough. Their offense played pretty doggone good. You know, JT Barrett and company. Wisconsin has got to identify somebody that can play the quarterback position and not score points for the other team. Pretty simple idea. But for the badges this year, a lot easier said than done. Next up of the championship games from last weekend is the Pac-12 game, USC and Stanford. A really good game. It was fun to watch. It was exciting. It was a standalone on Friday night. So they got the stage they deserved. And SC is gonna be a conference champion. But again, if they're not in the playoff, and they're not in the playoff, they have nobody to blame but themselves. They're the ones that screwed up and lost when they shouldn't have lost. That's how sort of things work in this whole playoff / perception business that is college football these days. And I'm adding a sixth. You see the thing, the Power Six all the time in the American Conference when they on the sideline of their game. Well, in my review of conference championships, we're going to have a Power Six, okay? And that means we got to talk about Memphis and UCF in the American Conference Finals, 62-55. There'll be basketball games, and have been the last couple of weeks, and for the next couple of weeks, where the score won't be that high. UCF, Mackenzie Milton and company on offense. Scott Frost, now the head coach at Nebraska, in his couple of years there, did an incredible job. Took a team that was 0-12 the year before, got them to, about medium, about average, about 6 wins or so. And this year, 12-0, and they're going to play in the Chick-fil-A Bowl, the Peach Bowl, on New Year's Eve, or on the 30th, I should say. And they're going to play against Auburn. So they got what they wanted. They got their New Year's Bowl group game, and Memphis came up just a little bit short. Riley Ferguson and that offense was something to behold. And, yeah, I haven't talked about either one of these defenses, but it's kind of like talking about a Big 12 defense. They don't play a lot of defense. And American Conference football, the Power Six, if I will, did themselves well in this game. Probably the most exciting game. If you liked offensive football, that was your game of the weekend.